So there's a lot of different issues when it comes to AI ethics. Some of the bigger ones involve privacy and consent. So if we think about the use of data to train AI models, data is a necessary input to train AI. And AI requires vast amounts of data, enormous amounts of data, sometimes millions of training examples. And so that's a lot of data to collect. And how we've made this possible is that many organizations who are building AI systems have simply scraped the internet for data. And that's a problem on a number of different levels. First of all, when you're posting something on social media, you're not also thinking that what you've just posted might be scraped away and used for some other purposes. So we have this issue of the reuse of data for purposes which you didn't really necessarily consent to. So that's an issue in terms of getting consent. From the perspective of the data scientist, it's an issue because how do you get consent for 100,000 images or 100,000 tweets? Very challenging to do. So these issues around privacy and consent are vast. They're also linked to these terms of conditions contracts that we all look at. We all see the box that says click here, and if we want to read the contract, we can actually click on the link. Nobody reads these things because they're long, they're complicated, we don't really understand what they mean, and so we can't really actually even give informed consent. So informed consent is all about two parties agreeing to something and being on an equal playing field. That never happens when it comes to the internet. So right away we have a problem when it comes to data and privacy. The other issue is that a lot of the information that gets fed to AI systems is very biased, and it's based on historical data that is encoded with these biases. And just to give you one example of that, think about a data set that of the prime ministers of Canada. So this is a data set that would be almost all men. There is only one woman in that data set. This is a data set where everybody is white. This is a data set where I'm sure if you looked at the income level of people, you would find a certain person of a socioeconomic bracket, probably a upper middle class or higher kind of person. And so you look at an AI system that's trained on that kind of data set, and it only knows that context, it's going to have bias in it. And that's really what's happening with some of these AI systems is they're trained on extremely biased data. And so that means when it encounters somebody who doesn't fit within that paradigm, it can discriminate against that person. And this is a problem when you think about these systems being used to make decisions about who gets a job, who gets a loan, who gets access to education, who gets benefits from a government program. These are all very high stakes areas that can impact people's life outcomes. And so if you have biased data, it's making poor choices that are going to impact those people in really adverse ways.